He's our appointed safety and security officer, who's also a lieutenant in the Marion County Sheriff's Department. So he's been extremely helpful to us in guiding us. So the reason we're talking to you is because our team has been successful in the last 2 years of being awarded the maximum amount of $150,000 per year from this federal grant. So we've gotten a total of $300,000 now. And it's free money. It's available to all. Free doesn't mean easy. There's some work involved in getting it, but it can be done. It's a very straightforward process. Having a team at your own temple that is dedicated and willing to dot the I's and cross the T's is what's needed. And we'll go through the individual steps. Ambat Babu did give this presentation already in Cincinnati at HMEC, so some of you have probably seen it there, but I think it's really valuable to just review it quickly and then leave us some plenty of time for questions and answers. So I'll lead you through that and then we'll do that. And I think you may find that we might need more time, and that would be great if we wanted to have another session devoted to this over a longer period of time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if I can and start the slide presentation.
Arun, as you're doing this, I don't think we may be able to accomplish everything in 1 hour. So we are going through the summary. And if they need more details, we may have to have another full, probably 2 or 3 hour session, right?
I think that would make sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And let me see if we can get this going.
Tejal Ben, give it to make it Arun Jain. Yeah.
I already made Arunji, Ambatji, and Satyaji co-host. So they should be able to share.
I'm just struggling a little bit to get this fired up, but we will get this.
Yeah, please make Vijay Pal also.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. I've got it now. Okay. Great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the grant program is called NSGP, or Nonprofit Security Grant Program. And there's very, very basic eligibility. All you have to be is a 501c3 organization, nonprofit, of course, and you have to be able to demonstrate through the application that your organization is at risk for terrorist attack. All of us meet that qualification automatically as Hindu temples. And then if you haven't gotten it already, you need this unique entity identification number. Used to be that you needed a DUNS number, which many of you are familiar with, but in 2022, that was changed to a UEI number, and we'll talk about where you get that number. The grant's issued by the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and FEMA, and the Grant Programs Directorate, but it's administered through your state DHS office. So that what I'm going to talk to you about is our experience in Indiana. Each state does it very, very similarly. What's different from state to state is some of their deadlines for submitting the application information. And so you would want to go to your own state to get that specific information. I'm sorry. There we go. So overview, this is just one of 3 grant programs that are administered by DHS and FEMA, and it focuses on enhancing the ability of state, local, tribal, and territorial governments, as well as nonprofits, to prevent, protect against, respond to, and recover from terrorist attacks. The NSGP supports the goal to strengthen national preparedness and resilience, and the NSGP supports the goals of building a culture of preparedness and readying the nation for catastrophic disasters. In 2022, $250 million was made available specifically to nonprofit organizations. And in 2023, it's going to be increased to $360 million. So there is a lot of money. And in fact, I think there's a real desire to diversify who is getting this money. To date, most of the money has gone to Christian, Islamic, and Jewish organizations. There have been very few grants to Hindu and other dharmic organizations. And I think that our grants are really looked positively on in terms of diversifying these awards. So the objective is, of course, funding for physical security enhancement and other security-related activities to nonprofit organizations that are at high risk. And the NSGP also seeks to integrate the preparedness activities of nonprofit organizations with broader state and local preparedness efforts. So it can be used for target hardening and physical security enhancement, which we'll talk about, but it's also can be used to help coordinate between your organization as well as local law enforcement. The priority is enhancing and protecting soft targets in crowded places, which all of our temples are. And then there's a second tier of priorities that is involved in helping with effective planning, training and awareness campaigns and exercises as well. There's different funding categories. So the things that you're interested in for your own organization can fall into one of these 8 categories. It can be new construction. It can be installing new equipment at your existing buildings and facilities. Exercises, money can be used for management and administration, for organization, for operational activities, for planning, as well as for training. And as we mentioned, in the last 2 years, the maximum award has been $150,000, and that's what's anticipated for 2023 as well. Now, in Indiana, the deadline for application submission is February of the calendar year. So we are going to, I'm sorry, the application start date will be in February. So that's when it'll open up in Indiana. And then the submission deadline will be in April. But this varies from state to state. And I just happened to look at the Illinois website, and their deadline in Illinois was, I think, mid-January. So theirs is very different from ours. Anticipated funding selection date. So the date by which they will decide who's going to get funding will be July 1st. And then the anticipated award date, at least in Indiana, will be about September 30th. There's a period of time over which you have to complete the activity that you have been awarded money for. So for instance, if you're building a fence around the temple property, you have to complete that within 36 months, but you are allowed to ask for extensions if there were some other extenuating circumstance. If steel is not available, if there's supply chain issues, if we have another pandemic, you'll be able to ask for more time. That's not a problem, but you have to justify it. The projected period of performance start date is September of the calendar year in which you are awarded the grant. And then you have to, as I said, end complete your activity in the 3rd calendar year afterwards. And it is a grant, but you don't get a check up front. So if you say, look, we want to install $100,000 worth of security cameras, the way it will work is that they will approve the project. You will have to carry out the project. You'll have to submit reports along the way. You'll have to prove to them that you have done what you told them, that you've installed the cameras. And then they will send you a check to reimburse you for that amount. And I'll ask Satya Tulasiraman to talk about that a little bit more towards the end. The application is pretty straightforward, and there is essentially these 7 parts to filling out the application. The first part is the easiest. It's just basic information about the nonprofit organization. And item 5 is tricky if you haven't gotten that UEI number already. You just go to sam.gov, sam.gov. SAM stands for System for Award Management, and you submit a request to get that number. So that needs to be done ahead of time. And you'll put the total amount that you're asking for. Section 2, now 2 through 7 is awarded. It's a rubric that can get 40 possible points total. So they're going to try to compare you to other submissions based on how many points you get. Like I said, I don't think this should scare anyone. There is a lot of money, and I don't think it's very hard to get awarded. So section 2 is background. You have to describe the symbolic value of your site as a significant institution in the community that also renders the site as a possible target of terrorism. Very easy to justify for us as Hindus. Section 3, you have to talk about risks. You have to talk about the threats, known threats or historical threats to your institution or similar institutions. You have to talk very specifically about your institution's specific vulnerabilities. And then you have to talk about what are the potential consequences on your institution and your community if you are attacked. So the way you get detailed information on points 1 or 2, you must engage a security professional to conduct a security and threat risk assessment for you. Sounds difficult, but it's very straightforward. Any member of law enforcement, DHS, or any even military or ex-military person who has experience in performing this risk assessment can do it for you. You can call your local DHS office and they can suggest someone, or you can call your local police department, state police or sheriff's department, and they probably have somebody on their staff who does this on a routine basis. So they'll come, they'll walk around your facility, they'll talk to you about what measures you already have in place, and they'll just type out a report with specific threats and vulnerabilities and recommendations to remediate those problems. And that's what you're going to include in your application to support your request. And then section 4 is target hardening. You're going to describe each proposed activity or investment and the identified threat or vulnerability that it addresses, as well as the associated cost with each activity or investment. And we're going to give you an example from our application to show you that more. So basically, you're taking what you developed in section 3, your threats and specifically the vulnerabilities. You're going to show what items you need to purchase or install, or programs you want to develop to address those vulnerabilities, how much they're going to cost as well. The next section is milestones. You're basically going to be asked for a very detailed timeline in terms of what are the milestones that you're going to be looking for and when as your project is started, carried forward and completed. So for example, say you're going to build that fence around your temple, you can say that milestone 1 may be identifying 3 local vendors who do fencing and obtaining bids for the project. Milestone 2, maybe 3 months later, we'll be selecting the best bid and starting the job. The next milestone may be at the mid portion of the completion, doing an assessment. At that point, the next milestone may be doing a final walkthrough at the completion of the fencing to make sure it's all done correctly, something like that. So pretty straightforward, but they want to see that you have given them specifics in terms of what you're looking for. The last two, let me see if I can go back. Oh, sorry. Project management is basically that you have identified people in your organization or outside your organization that can oversee the project, especially if it's a bigger project. They don't want you to be doing something very technical without somebody who has expertise in project management. So, for example, in our temple, Satya Tulsi Raman is a senior project manager for one of the largest construction firms in our city, and we're lucky enough to have him as a board member as well. So he oversees the project management for the for this grant project that we are undertaking. And you probably have similar people in your communities who are either in construction, in project management, work at that level, or it could be the vendor that you are picking for the fence installation or video installation. You can ask them potentially to help you with the project management as well, and they need to be listed in the application. And then the last section is about the impact. They want you to have some statement or some thought to what's measurable in terms of the impact it'll make for your temple. Sometimes this is a little bit tricky, like because they want to know, what's an indicator that this was a successful investment. It doesn't have to be too elaborate. You can just say, one indicator is that, in the year after we build the fence, there will be no incursion onto the temple property after hours, or there will be no vandalism or damage to the temple premises in 1 year's time, or something like that. This was an example from our first grant application. This is kind of a table that is in the application that you will fill out. The first column is AEL number, and AEL, I think that stands for approved equipment list number. So there's a catalog, and it will have a specific code that goes along with certain types of equipment. The second column, description of the item to be purchased. And the third is the vulnerability to be addressed, so that this is that vulnerability that was identified by your consultant, and then the amount that would cost. So for the first line, we wanted remote gate operators. The AEL number we looked up in the catalog is in the first column for remote gate operators. The vulnerability is that we wanted to limit property access by being able to do remote screening, opening, closing, and locking of the gates. So right now we have electric gates and our main entrance, but we had no way of being able to see from inside the temple which car is coming up to the gate, and then opening up the gate after identifying the vehicle coming in. And so we wanted to have that ability, and that was going to cost $22,800 to be able to do that for 2 gates. The next one, to have video cameras and covering every inch of the parking lots, as well as on the gates, and having video cameras on virtually every part of the interior of the building, as well as the exterior of the building. And that was for early identification of threats. So that we would have a monitor, say in the temple office, somebody sitting there could be screening all those video cameras. If somebody was approaching one of the side doors or back doors who looked like a potential threat, they could be identified quickly. The cost of that was about $60,000. Call boxes, having parking in our parking areas, and areas that are more remote on the temple property, having emergency call boxes that could be directly connected to local law enforcement so they could come quickly. $51,000. Having panic alarms. These are panic buttons in the temple office and a few other places where just hitting the button would automatically trigger a call to the local law enforcement and a response that would be be quicker. A PA system to communicate and guide during emergencies, exterior lighting. So you will have your own list that's generated from your own risk assessment, but that's basically how you'll present it in the application. And then hopefully what you'll get is a letter that states that you have been granted the award, and this is kind of what it will look like. And it will give you some other specific information, including your award number, etc., which you then need to put into your state's application database, and then this is all kind of administered through that that database, and we'll get a little bit more information about that from Ambad Babu in a little bit as well. There's a treasure trove of information about how to do this. So like I said, this may all sound complicated, but this preparedness grants manual is absolutely essential, and you can find that online. These other links that I have put up here also have a tremendous amount of information. And if you just Google your state and NGSP, it will take you to your local website where you'll find, all of this information, as well as application deadlines and a lot of other information. Online, you can find people's complete grant applications, so you can have very detailed examples of all of the questions and answers. And so you can model your own application after that. There's even video tutorials on how to fill out this application. Like I said, they really want us to be availing, ourselves of this money. It's to make our temple safer places. That makes the community safer. And so the purpose is to distribute these grants, but we have to take the necessary steps, of course, to be able to unlock that funding. So a lot of information. I just wanted to get a few other team members' input before we turn it over to questions and answers. And if Satya could tell us a little bit about what happens after the grant is approved in terms of the next steps with the project completion and reporting requirements.
Yep. Thank you, Arun. So Arun gave you the highlights of how to get the grants and how to get it approved. Once you get the approval, like he showed an example on like September 7th, 2022, you get the approval award letter, and it'll have around 15 to 25 pages of information. First of all, before we go further, one thing everyone needs to remember is there are some temples who already have their 501(c) and then their unique identification number, and also depending on the state, you may have your supplier and vendor ID numbers also already procured. If you don't have that, it'll be a problem even to apply. Actually, there was another temple in Indiana who was very much eager to apply this year and could not, because they tried to get the unique identification number in the last minute. And also they try to get the supplier and vendor ID numbers in the last minute, which they could not meet the deadlines. So please be aware of that. Make sure you get your UEI number. And depending on the state, if a supplier ID number and a vendor ID number is required, you need to register in the State Department and get those numbers registered, and make sure you have those numbers before you apply or wait for the information on the grants. That is main important thing. So once you get the approval, and when you go through this information, it'll ask you to re-register. It'll send you to a website. Previously, last year, it sent us to the Department of Homeland Security's website. This year, they had a different sponsor and different website, like intelligrants.gov. So we have to go to intelligrants.gov and re-register. So 2021 grant was a different website. 2022 grant was another website. So you have to go and register. You have to get a username, password, then who's the main administrator, sub-grantee, all those you need to register. You need to basically register your organization in that website. And you can do that only if you are already pre-approved. And once you are pre-approved, it's easy to get registered. You cannot register if you're not pre-approved. Once you register, then you need to authorize who's, like Arun previously mentioned, who's going to manage the project, who's a project director, then who's going to be managing your finance, their information. Then you need to submit your company's organizations 5013 certificates, then your W-9 form. They would ask you to provide your W-9 form, and then you need to have your direct deposit information. But all these, what I'm trying to say is, depending on state to state, this is all was required by the state of Indiana. Once you fill in and submit, there's a deadline. For example, this year they gave the deadline. We had to submit before November 4th. Once that is submitted, then there's a next step. You have to get the pictures of all the locations, what improvements you're making. First is a photo of the property, of the location where you're going to make the improvements. Second thing is a photo of each and every location. If you're installing a security card reader of one door, main entrance, that door entrance, showing that there is no security card reader. Then if you are installing a camera at another location, showing the location where that card reader is going to be, the camera is going to be installed. And you need to also not only take the picture, and also with the photo, you need to provide the location where, what that location is, what you're going to install, and when you're going to install. All those you have to submit. Once you submit that, with that, you have to submit the Department of Environmental Management's form. There's a form asking about, there are a lot of requirements. If you are going to disturb any underground, if you're going to disturb the surface, if you're going to disturb the surface, what all are the precautions you're going to do? Where are the approvals from the Department of Environmental Management? All those things, questions you need to be answering, and you need to provide all those requirements. If there's none, you need to make sure you fill in those appropriate blanks accordingly, explain what you're doing, and then you need to submit that. Once you submit that, they will review all those. And if everything, all these forms and everything, photos, everything is satisfied to their satisfaction, they will send the agreement between the Homeland Security and your organization. And the agreement will be sent to the authorized person in the application when you registered and input, like who's the main person, project director, who's going to be in charge. His email address, it'll be sent. Everything is electronic. You have to review. You have to make sure what all you put, all the line items, like how Arun was showing an example. Arun, do you think you can go back to that page where you got the AEL numbers and the amounts?
Sure.
So that you have to re-enter during the re-registration process, all these AEL numbers, they need to match according to your original application at the time you did in February or March. And the description needs to match. The amount needs to match. If the amount is differing, it's okay. They are not worried because there is cost increases due to supply chain or due to inflation. You can give that explanation. That's not a big deal. They want to know exactly what you're doing, and whatever you're submitting the second time is what they are going to take into account. This is like called the In construction, they call a schedule of values. If you get a contract for $150,000, what is your breakdown of the materials? What all work you're going to do? That is what here vulnerability to be addressed and description of item to be purchased is. And then what is the amount? That's right there. That amount needs to match the quantity. Arun has given a high level like 22,800, but what does that 22,800 costs amounts to? Installation of 2 operators, including material cost and the labor cost and transportation, delivery, all those are included. So that is a breakdown. They would look into it when you send the invoice. So you need to make sure that matches what you put in now. Once that agreement is sent, you sign the agreement, you send it back to them. That's all done through online. And when it goes to them, they review, Homeland Security reviews, then they send it to the treasurer's office. And the treasurer or the controller, whoever is in charge, reviews that and make sure everything is good. And then they send it back to the Department of Environmental Management to get an approval from the Department of Environmental Management saying that whether you're disturbing the surface or disturbing the underground, and whether it's been inspected, the property has been inspected, everything. Once they have been inspected, they certify and they send a letter to the treasurer's office. And once that is received, they do send a copy to us also. And once that is received, the treasurer or controller signs it off. And that is the full execution of the contract. Before that step, the project controller from the Homeland Security would have signed. You would have got the copy. You think it's fully executed. No, it's not executed. Do not start any work, even ordering the material, until the controller or the treasurer fully executes the agreement. Once that is signed and they send it, then you can confirm with the project manager or the from the Homeland Security, can we start the work? They would say, yeah, you can now start ordering the material, start the work. You can execute the work. They'll send it, a notice to proceed. Then you can start the work, do the work. Once you finish the work, you get the invoice from your subcontractor, review, make sure the work is in place, make sure the amount they're charging is appropriate. All this has to be managed by the project manager or the project director who is in charge you have nominated. And once they sign off, then your accountant treasurer pays the contractor cashes the money, and then it's the responsibility of your treasurer to get a copy of the cashed check and then send it to you. And then you go back to the website, Homeland Security website, where Intelligrants or the Department of Homeland Security, where you registered. There is a place where it's called request for RFE. It's called RFE. You go and click that and enter all your work, scope of work, what you did, and use this AE numbers and put up, describe appropriately to appropriate blocks where you expensed it off each check and put the amount and get that audited, approved. And then once you approve, that automatically goes to the project manager at Homeland Security. At this point, they got 30 to 60 days to reimburse you. But in that time, they will review. If they are satisfied, they will approve it. If they want to inspect, they will contact you. They will come. They will inspect on site physically. And once they are satisfied, they will go and approve it. Once they approve it, goes to the treasurer's office, and the money will be directly deposited to your account where you had given them the direct deposit authorization. That's the process. But it sounds very easy, reasonable, time consuming. And Ambat Babu can tell you. Ambat Babu and myself have put in, before the approval process, we 4 of us do Arun Jain, of course, Arun and Vijay are the pioneers in helping us in applying. But after it's applied and during the post construction and stuff, Ambat Babu is a very good helper for me, and he guides me very well. And it's a very tedious paperwork time consuming. You need two people dedicated for that. If they do not follow up on a timely fashion, you would not get the money back. But it's free money if you follow the process, if you follow the regulations, and if you do the right thing, you know you will get everything you spent, even every penny. I'll tell you, for us, we got approved for the year 2021, $150,000. We struggled at the beginning because I did not know, basically. Otherwise, I would say it's my main mistake. And I learned, and it took us a little bit of time, and we took at least till March of this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Arun. Arun and me put together everything back and sent it. Once we got the approval, got rolling. Out of 150,000, I've spent $118,000. I have already been reimbursed $70,000. The remaining $48,000 I sent in last Friday. I know that it'll be approved, and I'll be getting that back in 30 days, the money. So we have been very successful, and I'm very happy that we have learned a lot from that. And in 2022, the approved application, Arun and me are ahead of this, and we are almost there. We are at least probably a couple of weeks away in taking the photos and sending that back. If we send those photos, we are going to the next level earlier this year. That's where we are. At this time, I'll stop right here, and I'll have Ambat Babu to help you more.
Ambat Babuji, just a second. I want to everybody to make a note of this, and if Chandru Acharya ji is here, maybe he can speak to us. I know he had a very limited time to be with us for today, but he has put his contact information in the chat, and he has basically he's very much ready and willing to support any mandir going through this process. He's part of the Faith-Based Security Advisory Council, as I mentioned earlier, in the Biden administration. He said that if there are any issue with the grant not getting approved or any other challenge, then we can reach out to him. So we are blessed to have him, I would say. We can, of course, hear from HTCI team furthermore. But if Chandruji is here, I would like to let him speak for a minute before he depart the call.
Thank you, Tejalji. Thank you, Tejal Bain. And it was a wonderful presentation by Arunji and Satyaji. I've just recently been appointed on the Faith-Based Security Advisory Council, which exactly administers this grant. And I'm the only Hindu on the 25-member council. And as rightly mentioned, a very small part of the funds have been utilized by Hindu mandirs and other dharma organizations in comparison to many other Abrahamic faiths. It's now time because there's a heightened amount of security threat that many of us face. We are all aware about it. The administration is absolutely open to support any sense of security that they can give through the security apparatus that is at our disposal. So having said that, we have a series of meetings every month, and at any point of time, if we feel that there is a hurdle, or if you want some intervention or some meetings with officials, please feel absolutely free to send me an email, and I will set up something for you and make sure that it happens. And dhanyavad, and thank you for doing this. And I will always be there to serve you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandruji. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will be in touch.
Thanks. Thank you.
Dhanyavad. Sorry, Ambat Babuji, did not mean to cut you off, but Chandruji had a limit. So please go ahead.
No problem. Between Arun and Satya, they have covered all the points. I have only to tell 3 points. One is those who are applying for the grant from 2022 or 2023, the old DUNS number is gone, and you need to have the UEI number. Without the UEI number, you won't be able to apply. The second point I want to tell is that there are 2 sections of the NSGP. One is the urban area and one is the state. So if your city is, your nonprofit organization is located within the urban area security initiative, which is designated as high risk urban area, then you need to apply under NSGP urban area. Otherwise, you need to apply under NSGP state. So that's very important. If your state, if your city is declared as a high risk area, your chances are getting money is more effective than the other one. So that is the second point I want to tell. And the third one is, once you get the grant, you need to make sure that you are utilizing the entire award money. Otherwise, the Homeland Security, they won't be happy at all, because you are wasting the money some others would have got. So that is a third point I want to stress on. Other than that, I don't have anything to tell now. In the question and answers, if there is any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go ahead and open it up to questions, if that's okay.
Sure. Let me just, speaker can unmute if they have any question. They can raise the hand and I'll take it in the sequence it comes. You can raise the electronic hand, please, if you have a question.
What is electronic?
And you can unmute and speak, please.
Suresh.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Arishi, please go ahead.
See, my question is simple, that I live in New York and I did email to a couple of people I know as a priest to get into this kind of program, rather watch today program. I don't know who is watching or not, but what information you have given to me, I can talk to them. Only question I had to ask you is, if somebody is interested to do something, whom they should approach? Can I give Tejal's number, or I should have some number which I can give to them so they can talk freely and start working on them, on that idea?
So Arishji, we will share the recording. We will also share the presentation with the attendees of today's call, as well as a larger distribution group. We'll make it available on our website also. So that way, anybody and everybody can follow the instructions provided here. And if there are specific questions, of course, please send an email and email to me. And I'll work with the HTCI team to get the right answer. I would appreciate if we don't just send direct email to HTCI team member, because they are busy, and main thing is that whoever is interested should get answers. So we'll work through it as the.
That's right. That's right. And what I would also suggest, as you said, Tejal, we can't hold everybody's hand through every step of the process. You have to have a little bit of your own initiative. And if you would get this preparedness grants manual online, you can download the PDF. And if you can look at some of these links that I have suggested, do your own homework, get the process started. And then if you have specific roadblocks, we definitely will find ways to guide you. But none of us has time to take someone from start to finish in this process. You'll have to do a lot of legwork.
Why not we create a document how to proceed and what to follow? maybe like you are given this website, maybe we can prepare a one-page document. If you're interested, do this step by step like that.
Mhm.
Arun, can I answer that?
Please go ahead, Babu.
Yeah, what he is asking, it is already in the website. All the instructions, how to fill up the application, and everything is in the website. And since he is from New York, I really encourage him to check the list whether they are covered under NSGP UA, which is the high-risk urban area.
Okay.
Very good.
I have a feeling that New York is covered under the UA, sorry.
No, because we had one or two temples who were vandalized. So I know that we have.
So Arishji, I think as I say, like as mentioned, let's have the temple take an initiative. If people wants to talk, I can spend some time, I can talk to them and I can point them to the website, I can point them to whatever needed. We can have a separate call with that temple if temple is ready to take initiative.
Okay.
Thank you. Dhanyawad, HTCA team. Any other question, please?
I have a question.
Please.
I am from Irvine near Los Angeles. We are in a rental property. Our mandir is there established. We are in a rental property. So how does this work out? Any experience, any guidance?
You know, we don't have a specific experience with that. There are specific questions in the application about whether you own the property yourself or whether you rent it. And I think that there would be some concern about using grant money to put permanent items into a rental property. I think that that if it was using the money for, say, certain programs or for developing a policy and procedure manual or for hiring security for your specific events, those kinds of things would be approved, but they probably would not approve putting like a permanent fencing around a rental property. So I think you would have to take a look at that. And if you talk to your local DHS office, I think they could give you more guidance in terms of what would be appropriate use of those funds in that situation.
And in my opinion, that also depends on how much more the rental contract remaining. If it is going to expire within 1 year, I don't think they will do anything in sanctioning the grant.
Okay, so and I think we can also go case by case. If there is a specific question around what can be covered, the rental property, we can talk to Chandruji also and get some more help if needed. Please.
Yeah, is there any consideration in terms of who gets approved? Any consideration for how much assets you have, or do they not look at the financial information?
No, they don't. Go ahead, Babu. Sorry.
As Arun mentioned in his remarks in the beginning, it depends on the point system, and he mentioned all the points. So it purely depends on how much points you score.
Yeah, and more than your financial assets, what will help more is the size of your congregation. They want to know, like, you know, how many members do you serve? How many could be affected if there was attack, say, on a major holiday or on your normal day when you have Bal Gokulam? You know, how many families come to the temple? That would help them, you know, understand the value of giving you money more than how much money is in your bank account.
Okay. Rakesh ji, next question, please. Rakesh Jengir.
Yeah, namaste. So this is Rakesh from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Our temple is a relatively new temple, and So my question is this grant for every year, or I mean, once temple has got this grant, they are not eligible for, I mean, next time, or this is once in a life?
No, you can apply every year. There is no limit. So far, they've not placed any limit. $150,000 is the yearly limit, but you can apply each year. And I think you would have to show an ongoing need and justification each time for the new award.
Arun, there's a maximum of 5 years, and they give preference to the first year person first. The priority goes whoever applied the first year gets the preference. Then the people who applied the second year gets a second preference, like that. So up to 5 years, the NSGPS.
Thank you, Satya, for that clarification. And if you have multiple locations, you can apply for 150,000 for each location to a total of 450,000 in 1 year. That's another stipulation.
That's separate applications each.
That's right.
Okay, Dhanyawad ji.
Avinash Gupta ji, next question, please.
Yeah, I'm from Siddhivinayak Temple in New Jersey. I had a quick question. Does it cover the things which are already in place, like fence and security camera, if you already have installed? Will it cover it?
No, absolutely not. No. It has to be a new program or new equipment. It won't cover anything you've already bought or paid for.
And will it cover the priest quarter if you want to put something there?
I think if it's related to safety and security, you could make a, yes, you could get that.
Thank you.
Next question, Praveen Parekh ji, please.
Hello, namaste everyone. I'm also from Siddhivinayak Temple, Townsville, New Jersey, with Dr. Avinash Gupta, who's the chairman. Question is about the risk assessment. How is your difficulties? I mean, do you need a risk assessment professional to do it for you?
Yes, it's a stipulation that it has to be somebody in law enforcement or ex-military, somebody who has experience in risk and threat assessment, and so that is a requirement. And it has to have been done within the past 3 years is another requirement.
Right. So before even you do all these things, you need to have your risk assessment done.
Absolutely.
And
it's a great idea. Even if you don't go forward with this grant, it's a really good idea to have a professional.
Yeah, that is the first step which started, and the cost of this is like $8,000 even before you start making the applications.
Wow, you know, we did not have that experience. In fact, I don't think we paid anything for our risk assessment.
Well, in the state of New Jersey. Another thing is,
so you know, if you find somebody who is sympathetic to you, say an Indian member in law enforcement, or you know, somebody at the mayor's office who can talk to the sheriff's department, or someone, I would be surprised if you have to spend $8,000.
Okay. Is there a format for risk assessment, and where can we find it?
There's no format. It's all depending on what your requirements are. First, you need to determine what you want to do. Like you want to put in security cameras to keep monitoring your place. You want to put alarm system to your entrances to keep your area monitored. Things like that you need to decide, and then you need to tell the risk assessment manager what you're doing. They'll come and review, and they'll say, yes, you're right, you're wrong. They will come and they'll certify what you are requiring. If you don't know what you're doing, they cannot give you what you need to do.
Like
no, that's what we are trying to figure out. I mean, there are risks involved everywhere, right from the fencing to cameras.
You have security cameras. First, do you have security cameras? Yes, no. That's your determination. Do you have alarm system, security system for your temple after hours to be monitored? Yes, no. That's your decision. you need to decide that. Without that,
Well,
they would not give them.
provisionally we have whatever is available in the home security system, not professional security system. So we are just trying to assess what can be
Sure.
gathered to put it as a risk assessment when you apply for the grant.
Absolutely.
And Runji, the grant, when it is approved, it goes directly to your temple account, or it goes to escrow?
No, so like Satya had mentioned, it is kind of in an escrow with the state Department of Homeland Security and your state controller who is involved with that. And so it won't be released to you until you have fulfilled your obligation of showing them that you did the work as you.
So you basically submit the bills.
Exactly right. And
Okay.
then
Out of the bills, you have to submit the proof that your vendor or supplier has cashed it. That means when you write the check, and send it to the supplier or contractor, they have to cash it, and then you have to get a canceled copy of the cashed copy of the check from your bank.
That's easy.
That's the one.
Okay.
That one and the invoice, both you have to upload it to the website.
Okay, thank you, Satyaji.
Yeah, this is a reimbursement. Not, you won't be able to get the money before you spend it. This is only a reimbursement after you spend it.
Yeah. I mean, you are using a particular account for particular spending, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bharat Vedakji, please, next question.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for putting this together. This was absolutely fantastic. Quick, maybe you can summarize in terms of how long it took you from the day you started the application to when you finally got the approval on that contract.
I think that Babu, can you speak to that?
Arun, I can chime in on that one.
Okay, Vijay, thank you.
Yeah, it takes, I think you need to spend a little time reading the instructions and prepare yourself. For us, I think to prepare the main content of the application, it took us, it's a teamwork we did. We distributed the work among ourselves, and give or take, it takes about a good month and a half time to put everything together. As Satya said, that AEL numbers, registration, if you have done early, then I think the whole process will go faster. But if you haven't done anything, that will take more than 1.5 months, definitely. Babu?
Yeah, but so that is when you did the application. So it took you a month and a half to do the application. How long before you got the grant?
Well, yeah, Arun, can you go to that timelines?
Yeah, sure.
Totally, it's around 6 months before you get the approval. Vinod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
And then after 6 months, there's another definitely 3 to 4 months before you get the notice to proceed, because you have to satisfy fully the second round of application by setting up the website and then setting up your account and submitting all the required documentation again. It's overall, the overall process from the day you start until you get the notice to proceed, it's almost 10 to 11 months. And then you got another 2.5 years to complete the work.
Okay.
That makes sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bharatji, you had a question, Bharat Vedakji?
Well, yeah, not a question, but a comment. I see there is a lot of interest and a lot of questions. At the same time, the Indiana team has done a great job in presenting the information in a way that we can digest. It's not practical for us to ask every question to them every day, but I'm wondering if we could do periodic Q&A sessions where the people can send questions beforehand, and then everybody can dial in and Indiana team can pick and choose the questions and answer them. That way, everybody can benefit from the questions others have also. So maybe we might want to look at some way to, if the Indiana team is willing to help, formalize the process on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to help all the temples that have questions.
I think no doubt about them being helpful. They are here with us for second time to talk on the same topic. And at the beginning of the call, they already said that 1 hour is not going to be enough. So
Right.
know what it's going to take for all of us to get the enough help. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Bharat. You made a good point. We are already 15 minutes over the time. Many people already dropped the call. I know some of you have questions. I don't mind if continue for another 15 minutes if Indiana Mandir team is okay. And then we can just summarize with a couple of important announcements that I have to make.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. And, to that point, luckily, the four of us, we each have our own area of kind of interest and expertise in the process, but we were all involved with it. So if we need to set up additional times, even if all four of us can't make it, if one of us can, I think we could still facilitate that.
Yeah. So I think when I will send out the detail of the recording and all that, I will request that if you have additional question, please send it via email. You can put it in the chat also right now if there is still a question which is not answered. And the next question is from Mrugand Shahji from Jain Temple of Sacramento.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Mridang Shah. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, great information. So thank you for the Indiana group. I recently submitted an application here. It's the same exact application with the state funding where we had to do vulnerability assessment as well. And
I think you are mute, Mrudangji.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity and thanks for sharing your knowledge, Indiana Group. Really appreciate it. My name is Mridang Shah. I am a volunteer from Giant Center in Sacramento, California. We just submitted an application, a same exact application for the state grant here in California. It's called Cal OES. As part of the Cal OES grant application, we also had to do vulnerability assessment. One gentleman here said that they might have to spend upwards of $8,000. I was able to get someone from the Air Force who had the training and certification, and they were willing to do it for free. So there are a lot of different avenues besides the police and all who would be willing to do it for free. So just keep that in mind for everyone, that it doesn't need to be just the sheriff's office or the police department. It can be other departments too. I'm happy to share my contact, especially if someone in California who is looking for someone who has experience in doing the assessment. They would be doing for free, or maybe you might have to pay that person to travel to your location. But I'm happy to help with that. Unfortunately, I still haven't found the result of my grant application, so I can't say that how successful I was. So that was the one thing, that Cal OES has a lot of similar grant application as well. The other thing I wanted to also mention was that the rented location would also be allowed for the grant, specifically for the state grant application. I don't know how it is for the national or the federal grants, but for the state grants, you can also apply on basis of a rental property. The one question I had is, does anyone have experience in getting the grants from both, from the state as well as from the federals? And how much was your luck if you had applied for both? Were you able to get money from both places, or were you only able to get from one place? Thank you.
We applied only for this NSGP, that's federal. Other than that, we have not applied for the state. There are thousands of grants comes up. If you sign up for alerts, it comes every week, every month, but depends on whether you have time to spend to make sure you get it or not. And also you're not sure you'll get every grant. There's a lot. Ambat can chime in and tell us. Babu, do you want to say anything more to that?
As Satya said, there are a lot of grants. Even though this is a federal grant, actually we are routing the application through the state government.
Yeah, we have the same thing. If we are applying for
Yeah.
federal grants as well,
Yeah.
we have to go through Cal OES, which is
Yeah, so the
state
federal
organization.
government is actually giving the money to the state government, and it is they in turn is releasing to the applicants.
Perfect. Yes. Great. Thank you. And yes, our grant result hasn't came out, so maybe I didn't do a good job at putting the application, or maybe we will get some fund. I'll let everyone know.
No, it is a long process. It's not.
Yes.
So it will take time.
Yes.
But then
yes,
hard work always pays.
it was a lot of work. It was a whole lot of work, but I'm hoping that the rewards would be sweet as well. So
It'll be sweet. It'll be sweet.
Mrudanji, if there is a need, I think we can talk offline. And I can put you in touch with Chandruji, or you can reach out to him directly if there is any issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Ramji, next question, please.
Yeah, thank you, Tejal Band and Indiana team. Wonderful presentation, and it really making us to think about the temple security. Great job, our appreciation. I have two questions. One is like these Jewish synagogues, they are being attacked, so they might have gotten a grant. All those details are a public document if we want to see what kind of safety measures they took and how much money they got. Is it a public document or it is not shared?
I don't think that it's a public document, but you can find online, if you're just interested in sample applications, you can find those online if you wanted to take a look, but I've not seen for a specific institution where you can see what they asked for and what they got and how they used it.
Second part is that like we have audio, video, computer system and other things. So is there like for software kind of security, is this grant could be used so we have antivirus or whatever is so we secure our membership data and the private information, and so will this grant cover those kind of safety measures?
I think it's possible. When they release the grant information for each year, they target specific priorities. And so it really kind of depends on what they're interested in people focusing on that year. And I do think that if you can make a case, for specific threats, that is a possibility as well for cyber terrorism kind of issue.
Yeah, as Arun said, the justification is the important thing. How you are going to justify the threat you are facing.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, next question from Alok Bhaskarji, please.
Yeah, Namaste ji. First of all, thank you so much, or gratitude for sharing this information, wonderful information. My question is, can we use a grant to engage the security officers and company that we typically do in our temple? We pay them actually every week, for a Pathshala going on. So I don't know whether we can use this grant for that purpose as well.
You can use it for either having people come and train your staff or just hiring security for your particular events or needs. That's a possibility, yes.
And
thank you.
Know why you're using them during the time of application, what the vulnerability risk is. Well, that's the reason you're hiring them for. If you satisfy that, yes, they will approve it and you can use it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I think the last question is from Alok Bhaskarji.
Actually, that was me actually. So maybe I spoke for other Alok. So, maybe he can speak
Okay,
now.
no problem. There's only one Alok I can see. Anyone else? I think last time before,
I think Vinod Patel is there.
I think Vinodji already spoke, but if not,
Okay.
please, Vinodji, please go ahead. If there is a question.
I'm sorry, I did not speak. Thank you very much, the whole team. This was a wonderful program. But I think Alok just asked the question which I was going to ask. And thank you for the answer. And I appreciate all your time you've taken to go through this and all the information given to us. And we will work at the temple. I'm from South Florida Hindu Temple, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Great.
Dhanyawad.
Yeah, dhanyawad.
And most importantly, thank you to Indiana Mandir team. Thank you very much for your insight, for your sharing the knowledge base with all of us. And as I mentioned earlier, we will continue talking to them via email through me. And if there is any question, I can always prepare the basically list of questions, send it to them and get the answers. The important announcement that I would like to make at this point that the dates for HMEC 2023 are finalized. At this time, again, we are going to do it during the Shraddha Paksha. So it will be September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You will hear more on this via email as well. But in general, for now, please mark your calendar, September 29th, September 30th, and October 1st. And October being a Hindu Heritage Month from last 2 years, across the world, we are celebrating it as a Hindu Heritage Month. We are going to inaugurate Hindu Heritage Month on October 1st in person for the first time, part of the HMEC. So that way, all the mandirs participating in HMEC this year will be automatically contributing and participating towards the Hindu Heritage Month inauguration as well as the month-long celebration. With that, I would.
And where is this going to be?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I should say that. North Carolina, definitely. The Hindu, we are working with Hindu mandirs there very closely. Hindu Society of North Carolina has come forward. I'm working with multiple team members from Mandir, and they are going to be the main host for this HMEC 2023. So
thank you,
North Carolina, and we will hear more on that as we move towards closer to the dates. But thank you everyone for joining today, spending a time with us, the valuable time, I would say. And let's conclude with a small prayer if there is no other comment or question. Dhanyawad. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Namaste, Pranam, Shubhratri.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Indiana team.
Shubhratri. Namaste.